Tonight we address the final topic on our week-long focus on the St. Joseph constituency. Leron Bromell looks at infrastructure with the specific focus on farmers in Aranguez.
Infrastructure remains one of the major issues across the country. Here in Aranguez, farmers are complaining of poor drainage and bad roads. Aranguez was intended to be one of the areas to produce an adequate supply of short-term crops to feed citizens in the surrounding areas. With successive governments talking about food security, it was expected that areas such as these that were designated for farming would have a functioning land use policy as well as proper infrastructure. Malcolm Joseph been the victim of flooding 4 times.
There's thousands of dollars I put out here because the drainage is not good here, right? One little shower fall and the whole acre is flood. And every time that I get a flood here, it costs me plenty to put out back out there. And sometimes I don't have the capital. So we really need the drainage here to be fixed to avoid the flood.
Mr. Joseph says he's lost an investment of $45,000 on cauliflower.
Well, right now I had cauliflower, right now it's drunk out, right? I put out over $45,000 here, and I can't see half of that money. I had Popeye, everything, but I spread on the cabbage and everything. Cabbage gone now, right? Now I plant back a fresh crop here again, right? It costs me, and I'm making because throughout the flood.
He tells me of 2 infrastructural issues that he thinks are responsible for the flooding: small drainage cylinders and sinking roads.
What we just should try to do as farmers here, when we see the water coming down here, we just try to clear the drainage and do our own thing now, because normally nobody doing nothing.
The UNC's Ian Allen says he's already spoken with the relevant stakeholders.
I met with the farmers already. We have already started work on the Aranguez River. And with respect to the compensation after the flooding and whatnot, that is in place. With respect to Bangladesh, when we had a serious problem with respect to their lease, that has been put in place. I mean, you realize that they received their certificate of comfort only when I got involved.
Michael Lopez of the DNA.
We intend to develop our roads, our water, our power, and our transportation system on a national scale. This includes St. Joseph, of course. And there we have it. That's our position.
Umlala of the ILP talks of lobbying.
And what the farmers want is basic infrastructure. They're not even looking for handouts. They're looking for the cleaning of the drains, the passageways. They're looking for infrastructural change that ought to be the order of the day. Agriculture should be a priority, and yet it's treated as a secondary matter. So I plan to aggressively lobby on behalf of the farmers.
Errol Fabin says the issue is more than just drainage in Aranguez. He says houses and apartment buildings are now taking up land intended for farming.
The infrastructural thing in some of the hillside community are more difficult to solve because they don't have the space for the recreational facilities that they need. But we need to find a creative way to deal with it. Down in Aranguez, there are different needs because it's a farming community. There's no land use policy, and a lot of the agricultural land, you've seen houses building up on them. It's a desperate cry from the farmers to have that resolved. It is crucial to have that resolved.
And the PNM candidate Terence Delting tells of having a land use policy.
The waste cleaned in Aranguez, that is one. The other issue has to do with the agricultural policy. In the absence of a viable agricultural policy, the farmers in Aranguez many of them have expressed a need to relocate to other areas, mainly because Aranguez is becoming more and more urbanized. It's difficult to really call Aranguez the food basket of the nation again. If you take a drive around it, it's becoming more and more urbanized. People are building houses on once farming lands.
That aside, communities generally are calling for proper roads and drains. The government has embarked on a number of road paving projects, as well as the construction of box drains. So those were the issues we dealt with in the past week in the St. Joseph constituency. I am Leron Bromell for Cnews.